Hi guys, welcome to session 2 of Ignite. Today, we're going to do Embrace Your Job. Did you attend on Zoom last time? Last session. Oh, the last quarter, okay. Yeah, last quarter, yes. Yeah, okay. Tuesday night. Okay. What's your name again? Veronia, okay. Okay. So let's get started. So, again, a look at the course overview. We are now in class 2, Embrace Your Job. And here's the course overview. 4 segments. First segment, real estate expert. Second segment, lead generation, lead follow-up, and transaction. Right now, we're in the second class. No, turn down music, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. So, this is the second class, not only in the class 2 out of 20, but it's also 2 out of 4 for becoming a real estate expert. Notice how it's saying real estate expert, not real estate agent, and I mentioned that in the last class because everybody can be a real estate agent by getting the license. But now we want to become a real estate expert, a real estate expert of choice, because there's a lot of real estate agents out there, and how you distinguish between one real estate agent and another is his knowledge, his expertise, his skills. And that's what we want to develop and do that. So the first class we discussed about Spark Your Career, and let's refresh our minds of what we discussed last time in Spark Your Career. We had a new way of thinking, which is mindset. If you remember, mindset is everything when it comes to us as realtors. That's how you reach your success. And we discussed the 6 personal perspectives, if you remember. You remember the first one in the 6 personal perspective? Commit to self-mastery. Self-mastery. You control yourself. You become master of what you do. You master your own skills. Commit to the 20-80 principle, if you remember that. Move from E to P, from entrepreneurial to purposeful. Be learning-based, if you remember. It's very important to be learning-based, and you take an action plan on that. And remove any limited thoughts from your mind. Always have unlimited thoughts. Never have any negative thoughts. And finally was being accountable. And we also discussed the KW culture, the KW value, the KW resources that we have, that Keller Williams has to offer, and the daily success system. That's what we discussed in Spark Your Career. Now we're going to discuss Embrace Your Job. So we talked about career last time, and now we're talking about job. So what's the difference between a career and a job? Can anybody tell me? Okay. Yeah, in a way you're right. Yeah, so and then career be long term. Yes, that's right as well. Both of you are right. Yes. You want to add something, John, or? Okay, very good, very good. Yeah. So career is also, the education, the professional designations you earn, the trainings you attend, and it's the long term. Job is your daily tasks, okay? Is the daily tasks that you have to do every day, the 9 to 5 part. So if I ask you, what is your job? What would you answer? Should be an easy question. No, let me rephrase it. What is your job title?
Real estate expert. Real estate agent.
Well, yeah, that's the right answer. That's what people know us by. We're real estate experts, real estate agents. Yeah. But congratulations, every one of you now is a CEO. Each one of you. You are the CEO of what? Your own business. Every decision you make will impact you. It's in your own hands to make your business successful, and it's in your hands to make a few thousands every year or make it a multi-million-dollar business. You're the CEO, you're the ultimate decision maker, and you report only to yourself. So, as any business, and since you're the CEO of that business, in order for a business to thrive, you would need something that is mentioned in strategic management. If you ever took that before, I studied strategic management in my MBA. You need core competencies, okay? Anybody know what core competencies are? Core competencies are unique skills, capabilities that you can use to get competitive advantage over your competitive, real estate agents or industries or whatever you're competing against, okay? You need core competencies in order to have a competitive advantage over other competitors, okay? So in our line of business, what we need is 6 core competencies. We're going to go through them in order to succeed. Here's today's agenda. By the way, it's going to be a short agenda today, not like yesterday, the day before, in session 1. First thing we're going to discuss is apply the 6 core competencies of a business. Recognize your role as a fiduciary for your clients. Review the success system, which we discussed in the first session, and recaps and ahas. So now we're going to discuss the 6 core competencies of a business, your business. We're going to go through them, and then we're going to go one by one. First one, lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments, okay? Number 2, present to buyers and sellers and get agreements. Number 3, show buyers and market sellers. Number 4, write and negotiate contracts. Number 5, coordinate the sale to closing. And number 6, manage the money, okay? So we'll go one by one in each of those. But these are the core competencies or the skills that you need to have competitive advantage when you're competing about getting a listing, for example, from another real estate agent, or you're trying to get a buyer from another buyer who's trying to make him sign the buyer agreement, for example. First core competency, lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments. If you remember when we discussed in the last session of Spark Your Career, in the 6 personal perspectives, there was a commitment to the 20-80 principle. Remember what the 20-80 principle was?
20% of your
Yep.
actions are 80% of your
Result in 80% of it. Exactly. 20% of our actions lead to 80% of our results. And I showed you that those 20, and how do we figure out those 20% that leads to 80% of the result? The 20% is lead generation. That's the core of our business. Without lead generation, we have no business. We always constantly have to lead generate and get more business in order to keep our business going. So when we lead generate, what are examples of lead generation that you know of?
cold calling,
Okay, cold calling,
social
door knocking, yep,
media,
social media, networking, yeah, open houses, it's a good one. We have a special class dedicated for lead generation from open houses, it's very good. And we're going to discuss lead generation, by the way, in detail in the second segment, which is comprised of about 6 classes dedicated just for lead generation. And an entire class just for lead generation, which is session 5. We're going to be discussing that in detail. I'm just whetting your appetite in this class today, but we're going to go into detail. So that's not all the details we're going to get today. We're just going to get the highlights of what the core competencies are so that when we get to it in detail, because it will be too much information, of course, we just want to get the highlights. We're building stones. So when we get to that point, it will be easy. Of course, for lead generation, all what you mentioned was correct. But there are steps It's like a science for that. So notice how it says lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments. So okay, so I lead generate, I door knocked, and I met somebody who could be a potential future buyer or potential future seller. So what would be the next step after that? I'm getting a lead in my hands. What would be the next step? Yes, exactly. Which what we call, get the information, exactly, which what we call capture, lead capture. What does that mean? Lead capture is obtaining their information, and we have to obtain their information accurately. What is the information we need? What do you think the information we need from them?
Names,
Yep.
email, phone number.
Very good. Name, email, phone number. And if you can get the address, especially if they're a homeowner, that would be nice. You can get that as well, but don't push it right now in the beginning. Later on, you can do that with your sphere of influence. But when you establish a connection, ask for their birthday, because they're going to be, what do you want my birthday for? They might think in their mind, oh, this could be a scam or something. They're trying to get my, But do that with your immediate sphere of influence. That's fine. And then when you establish a connection with that lead, then you can ask for their birthday, and then you can start, calling them on their birthdays and stuff like that. But the main thing you need to get from them is their name, their cell phone, and their email address. If they're a homeowner, it will be good if you could get their address, okay? Because you can mail them flyers, mail them postcards, whatever you want to send them to advertise. So what will be the next step after you capture their information or capture the lead information? What will be the next step after that, you think?
Follow up with them in regard to what they're looking for.
Very good, follow up with them regarding what they're looking for. But before that step of following up, what do we need to do with the lead that we captured? We got the information for.
Transfer it to the CRM.
Exactly, enter to CRM, to the database. Exactly. And as you're entering them into the database, you know where we have the database in Keller Williams? Of course, it's something that we have free of charge in KW Command. KW Command has a database that we can use, a CRM, and that's coming to us, free of charge, included in our monthly fees. But you're free to use whatever database you want. You can free even use Excel if you want. But I mean, this is better to have it on command because we have like smart plans. We can always send blast emails that's also covered in the monthly expense we have with Keller Williams to whatever we want, to the emails, to the text, whatever we want to do. So it's the best optimum thing to do is to put them in KW Command. Go ahead.
Is there a class to go over the command center?
There will be classes, and John can let you know when. But it's pretty easy to, I could show you at some other time how to, put these things in command, So we capture them, we put them in the database, in the CRM in command, and now we want to convert to appointments. And as John mentioned, we're going to convert them to appointments by following up. We need to follow up. We can capture a lead and put them in our database, but we just forget about that person and we just move on and get the other person. We always need to have a system of following up. The way we do that is, let's say we capture the leads. That lead most likely is someone who's willing to sell within like 3 to 6 months or maybe next month, or someone willing to buy within a short time period, less than 6 months. So we need to take notes of that. That's where you put it in the database. Michael David is looking to buy in 2 months. Stephanie Smith is looking to sell in 3 months. So that means I should follow up intensively with her in a couple of weeks to get an appointment. So notice how it's saying convert to appointments. So when you follow up, the objective of following up is to get an appointment. And we're going to go and get into details for that in sessions 14, win the buyer, and session 15, win the seller, because it's all about that. Whether it's a seller or a buyer, you need to book an appointment for a listing presentation in case of seller, or for a buyer consultation in case of a buyer. And the objective of that buyer consultation or listing appointments is to sign an agreement that they will exclusively work with you. Before, in the buyer consultation, It's always been in Ignite that you sign a buyer consultation agreement, but before it was optional, okay? Now, as you know, within our settlement, it's mandatory. You have to sign a buyer agreement now with buyers. So before, if the buyer would refuse, okay, that's fine. So we don't want, to push the buyer too much. That's fine. I'll work with you. Now the buyer has to sign, okay? So there's pros to cons to that. The pros is you're making sure the buyer is going to be loyal and committed to you. The cons is you're going to have to, do one heck of a presentation to the buyer to convince him you have value enough to work with you, such that when he works with you, he's not going to work with somebody else, and you're going to show him he's going to pay you a commission from his pocket. So that's another thing. So of course you're going to have to convince him that you'll negotiate that with the seller and then have the seller pay it, but that's a separate thing. We're going to go that when we discuss Win the Buyer in session 14. So that's for lead generation. So lead generate, you capture the leads, you put it in the database, and then you try to convert into appointment. Any questions on lead generation, the first core competency? Okay. Second core competency. Present to buyers and sellers and get agreements. So we noticed before it was leads, capture leads, and feed it to the database to get appointments, So let's say we get the appointments. What do we do after that? We got the appointments. In the appointment that we book, we're going to present to buyers, if it's a buyer. We're going to present to sellers, if it's a seller. Okay? If it's a buyer, you're going to present to him a buyer consultation or presentation. And if it's a seller, you're going to present to him a listing presentation. And we have a template for a listing presentation and a buyer consultation. If you guys want it, just email me after the class and I will email it to you. And you would just customize it to yourself. It has all the good presentation that you would need. It's in PDF form, and you would just add your picture, add your phone number, just customize it to you. How good you present your presentation is how good you're going to convince the buyer to sign or the seller to sign. Especially with sellers, because most likely they're going to hear a listing presentation from another real estate agent. So you have to up your game and practice. It's all about practice, just like the NBA players, the NFL players, they practice a lot. You just see that you just think about, oh, they're getting paid millions. Wow. Well, they're getting paid millions because they train a lot. So always schedule a time in your day to practice your listing presentation and to practice your buyer presentation. And when you make a good presentation, you're going to influence the seller or buyer to sign the listing agreement or the buyer agreement with you. Any questions about that? Okay, that's the second core competency you're going to need for a successful business in real estate. Third core competency. We already know that one. Show buyers and market sellers. So when you're working with a buyer, it is expected after, of course, you sign the buyer agreements, you're going to show them homes. But it's really not about showing them homes, because anybody can do that. It's just not, you're not just opening a Supra. There's certain things you need to prepare for. Let's say you're showing your buyer sends you 3 homes that he wants to see, and you send him 2 homes, so we have a total of 5 homes. Research those homes before you start showing. Don't just, okay, I have the address, I'm going to put a GPS, we're going to go here, here, here. Make your research. First of all, find out if it's on a main street, noisy street. Find out if it's on a 405 freeway. Find out if it's right in front of a school, which means it's going to be a busy street for pickup hours and drop-off hours. Find out if, like, someone died on the property, you want to disclose that to them. Because you're just going to save the trouble, you're just going to tell them on the phone, by the way, this house is on the 405, it's going to be probably noisy. You still want to see it? Oh yeah, I still want to see it. Okay, that's fine. Because you're going to save yourself some time and save him some time. Other things you need to research or know in your head is when you're going to see a house, remember how many bedrooms and bathrooms for the house you're showing. and the square footage and the year it was built. Because most likely when you're showing the house, he's going to ask you the question, what year was this built? Oh, just 1 second, let me know. When you have it on the top of your head, it will make you look good. It will make you look sharp. How many bedrooms was this again? Oh, let me check. But when you're having them out, 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. It was 2,100 square feet. You appear sharp. You know your stuff. So it's not just about opening the house. So always have that information ready. When you market the sellers, you're going to be going through that in the listing presentation when you're showing to the sellers how you're going to market it. When you got to explain to the sellers how you're going to market the property. Not everybody knows how it works. For example, of course it's common knowledge to us that we put it on the MLS and the MLS feeds Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, but they don't know that. So you got to tell them, you know what? Once you list with me and I put it on MLS, it feeds all over the world. Your house will be online everywhere. Anybody can see it. It will be on Redfin, Zillow. Some people lose listings because they don't state that simple fact that when you practice and you know that your stuff, you'll do it. Tell them you're going to make flyers. You're going to make postcards that go to the neighbors. You're going to do circle prospecting. And you guys know what circle prospecting is? Is when you send flyers or postcards in a circle around the house to show all the other neighbors, which is a double benefit for you because the owners of the house will probably have a family member who would want to bring him nearby. And at the same time, they might think, oh, that guy is doing good marketing. I want to bring him to sell my house. Consider making Matterport, 3D tours, videos for your home. Get a professional photographer. Never take photos with your phone. And let the seller be aware that you're going to bring a professional photographer. So he thinks you're professional. Or he sees you're professional. And that's basically showing buyers and market sellers. And we're going to go into details as well for buyers in session 14 and for sellers in session 15. Any questions about that one?
What was the term that's used again for the circle advertising?
Circle prospecting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Number 4, write and negotiate contracts. And we're going to have a separate session, which is session 18, for negotiations, all on stuff on negotiations. But one of our core competencies is write and negotiate contracts. For writing contracts, there will be classes that will be offered here in the office with Jeff Curtis, our broker and record. He's going to discuss the most important thing in the purchase agreement, which is the offer we write, which you need to look at. So he will teach you how to write it and what to look out for and things to look out for. As for negotiating contracts, negotiation can be in 2 things, either price or terms, okay? And this will be dependent on if it's like a multiple offer and you're on the buyer side or you're on the seller side and you have no offers, and so it has a lot of factors, moving factors in it. But we're going to, as I mentioned, go in details in session 18, negotiations. Okay. Any questions about writing an offer or negotiation in contracts? Any questions? Okay. Number 5, coordinate the sale to closing. So we get an offer accepted as a buyer agent and we're happy and we open escrow. Or we're a listing agent and we accept an offer and we open escrow. In both cases, we're very happy because we're about to close in 30 days and we're about to get our commission. But believe it or not, there are so many things that can go wrong in escrow. And this skill itself, coordinate the sale to closing, is about a managerial skill. I like to call it managerial skill because you manage many components and many people during escrow process. You manage communication with escrow and the lender and whoever you're representing, whether the buyer or the seller. You manage the communication between the title company and your clients and the escrow. You manage the communication with the lender, the loan process with the lender, make sure he's going, because there's contingencies that are going to be removed. And we're going to discuss contingencies in other class. The home inspection. You're going to arrange with the home inspector to come, with the termite inspector. And then when the home inspection report comes, you're going to see what issues are with the house. And then you're going to do negotiations again and discuss repairs with the seller and the listing agents. There's going to be an appraisal for the house. If you're the listing agent, you're going to meet with the appraisal in person and give him comparables to justify the price you made. If you're the buyer agent, you're not going to be there, but if that doesn't appraise, you're going to have to negotiate some more with the listing agent and seller. And finally, you're waiting for the underwriter approval to remove the final contingency. So there's a lot of moving parts that you need to manage. But don't worry, we'll get to that. Don't be overwhelmed with all this information. I'm sorry. I'm just giving you, highlights. But we're going to go into details for all that. Don't worry about that. You just get the buyer to sign and the seller. When we're that, someone will help you. Don't worry. So all these things you would need to manage to sharpen your skills. Okay? Any questions about coordinate the sale to closing? Okay. Number 6, manage the money. That's the fun part. And when I say manage the money, it's not manage your client's money, it's manage your money. Okay? Because we made sure in Keller Williams and Ignite, you learn all you need to know by session 19. Session 20 is plan your future. That's where you manage the money. That's where you learn in detail how to manage the money. Because some of us, when they get like a good commission check, they spend it all on, Louis Vuitton, an expensive Rolex for guys, So we don't recommend you do that. First, we show you what gets cut off from your commission. We discussed it briefly in last session. And now whatever nets to you, you have to plan what you're going to do with it, because you're going to save some money for taxes you're going to pay at the year end. You need to save money for marketing or whatever you're going to be doing, and because you don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. So we're going to show you how to do that, but that's an important managerial skill also you're going to need, managing your own money so that you thrive in your business. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. Mindset matters. Okay? We discussed that in the last session, and it's being brought up again today. How you think and how you approach your daily tasks in your job will really affect you. You always have to have the mindset, I have to lead generate at least 2 hours every day. And my recommendation is when you lead generate, focus on your sphere of influence first and then see if you're going to do the cold calling, door knocking, and other stuff. Do everything and see what works out best, as I mentioned in the last session. Do all the prospecting techniques, okay? And in 6 months, you're going to be seeing what's generating more business to you. And then that's what you focus on. The 20-80 principle. So always have the mindset. Book it in your schedule. Important questions to our business. We're still in the core competencies. These questions, come up. I put those slides in actually. It wasn't in the... How long on average does it take to get a buyer or seller to sign a contract for a sale or listing? It could be 1 day, it could be 60 days, depending on how much time you put in lead generation every day. And how many appointments you go and obtain signed contracts. So how long is depending on how much you lead generate. Okay? If you lead generate a lot, you're going to get a lot of leads, you're going to capture more leads, you're going to put them in the database. So most likely you're going to be getting more appointments. So always think, I want to get more appointments. How do I get more appointments? I got to lead generate more. I got to capture more leads. So it could be 1 day, it could be 60 days, it could be 6 months, depending on how frequent you lead generate. And as I mentioned, focus more on your sphere of influence and do the other stuff as well. Second question, how long does it take for a transaction to close and for you to get paid? Well, the average is 30 days, but it depends, if there is a contingency to the sale, the seller has to find another property. But on average, it's 30 days. But some lenders can close in 17 days, like Dustin here in the office. He can close in 17 days. And that could be a value proposition you would add to your clients in your buyer presentation, How quickly do you want to get paid? Or how long can you go without payday? I don't have an answer for that because you guys would have the answer to that yourself. So how quickly you want to get paid is depending on how much lead generation you want to do every day and how many leads you capture. To achieve your highest potential, these 6 core competencies must be done consistently and done well. So now we learned them. We have to do it consistently and we do them well. One of the 6 personal perspectives that we learned last session was be learning based and take an action plan, So it's good that you're learning based. You guys are here. But you must take action. What you learned today, you want to apply. Okay, we learned that lead generation is great. I learned this great class that lead generation is very important for my business. So start lead generating. You got to apply it. Take action. And take action consistently. Always have in your schedule, I'm going to do, for example, from 9-11, I'm going to lead generate. Every day. Okay? So that quote was said by Gary Keller in Shift, in his book Shift. Any ahas so far? Or takeaways or questions?
Definitely made a good point when you just said remembering how many beds, baths, square footage, here the property was built.
Yep.
Show your knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And they would feel their value, but because unfortunately, the general impression of the buyers out there, I don't need the buyer's agent. Why do I need him for? I just need someone to open the home for me. But now he sees your value. Okay? Okay. Now, second point on our agenda today, recognize your role as a fiduciary for clients. So, we want to compare 2 important things here because we sometimes overlook that. Functionary versus fiduciary. So, what's the difference between functionary and fiduciary? Anybody want to say something?
Functionary would be doing the job that you're supposed to do, and then fiduciary would be obligating your priority to one specific party that you represent.
Yes, in a way, I know what you mean. Yes, exactly. So, in other words, functionary is we're doing a job as salespeople, real estate agents, and just the most important thing, we sell the house or we buy the house so we can get our commission. Fiduciary is you owe loyalty to your clients. You have the best interest of your clients. You got that covered. You're working on your client's best interests. That's it. And that comes before your own interests. So it's not about, okay, I see a problem with that house. Not about just buy it, no problem. And then he discovers that problem later on. So that's not good. Why is that not good? For many reasons. First of all, it's not ethical that you know a problem and you still make him buy the house and he buys it. You can be in legal problems. He can sue you and sue the office for that, And what's most important, you want your client to be extremely satisfied. Why is that important? Not just because it's the ethical thing to do. Of course, that's it. But another reason is when he's so happy after he buys the home, he's going to refer you more business. If he's not happy and he's not going to take legal action, it's okay. So I made a mistake by trusting that agent. Okay, nothing. That person is not going to refer you business. And that's going to be a big source. All the top agents you see right now in the market, in any market, 90% of their business, if not 95%, is from past clients. Past clients, that's it. People don't go around anymore and look who's the top agent in that city, I'm going to work with him. People don't do that anymore. They were happy with working with that agent, so they call him. So your important role is fiduciary. Even if it means walking away from escrow and sacrificing your commission if you see that wasn't to the best interest of your client. So what do? Always disclose everything to your client. Always give your professional opinion. So when you see a problem, you disclose it to the clients and tell them this is the problem, and tell them if it has an effect on the resale value of the property when he calls you later on in 10 years or 7 years or 3 years. So for example, as I mentioned, if the house is on a 405 freeway and the client tells you, and you tell the client it's going to be noisy, and he says, I don't care about the noise, I tone it out. Tell them that's great, I just wanted to bring it to your attention, but just bear in mind it's going to be a challenge to sell it 5 years from now, just to bring it to your attention. If he says, I don't care, okay, you did your due diligence, you told him, so he can't come back and tell me, you never told me that's going to be a problem in selling the house because of this issue. You know what I mean? So whatever information you know or you gather or you find out from the seller who's selling, you got to tell it to your client, okay? That's the fiduciary doing. So always be a fiduciary and not a functionary. Be the fiduciary. Any ahas from the fiduciary and functionary? Okay.
I think like the disclose, like being having to disclose everything to your client. That's really important.
Yeah. Automatically, the car forms or the California forms that we have has all the disclosures. By law, the seller is going to disclose and the buyer is going to sign on them. But if you notice something as you're looking, you got to tell it to him also, bring it up, because sometimes when the buyer sign, actually sometimes most of the time, they don't know what they're signing. They're just trusting you. So that's where your value come in. Bring it to their attention. By the way, I noticed that there was a leak that they had, for example, As long as you tell the buyer, that's fine. Okay. Because he's going to be signing on it anyway. You're not going to run the issue of, you never told me that. Well, you signed on it because you have the car form. But take an extra step in explaining that to him, Nothing else about your business will have as big an impact on it as the number of leads you have. That's Gary Keller in his book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agents. So the biggest impact you have on your business is the number of leads you have. And the number of leads you have is all going to depend on you, how much lead generation you're going to do. And there's a lot of lead generation methods, as I mentioned. So you just go through them and see which one generates more business. And my expectation is the sphere of influence is going to be the biggest one. But try the other ones. Maybe you're good at something. Maybe you're good on social media. You have a lot of followers who will engage with you, for example. Maybe you're good in door knocking. So it depends. And when it comes to cold calling and door knocking, for cold calling, look at the do not call list, because the office will give you that and tell you these are numbers that you're not supposed to call because they wanted to get out of it, So do not call the do not call list. And for door knocking, check out if the city has a permission that you can door knock or not. For example, Palos Verdes states you're not allowed to door knock, for example. Rancho Palos Verdes you can, but another quote from Gary Keller in his other book, The One Thing: accountable people achieve results others can only dream of. So remember how in the sixth person perspective, be accountable, the sixth one? Always be accountable. Always track your results. So when you're lead generating, always track your numbers, because we want to see where you're getting the most contacts from, okay? Where you're getting the most leads, so that you can see what to do, if it's a will or if it's a skill. When you're with a mentor, for example, or with a coach, and you told them, like, I made like 200 calls, but I only got one lead, he's going to see what the problem is. Maybe it's a skill, maybe it's what you're saying in the script. Or it's probably a will, you're not lead generating at all. Choose an accountability partner. And that could be like another fellow agent with you. That can be an accountability partner. And he will provide a safe place to share, follow through with action items, listen and pay attention while the other person shares. Set a frequency of checking in with each other. Dig deep to find out why you do the things you do. Respect each other and the process. Create a commitment and stick to it. Be open to receiving feedback. Give specific feedback. Have each other's best interest in mind. Of course, when you choose an accountability partner, make sure the person you choose is motivated and really wants to succeed in real estate. So, yeah, my recommendation, don't choose somebody who's not, like, for example, attending any trainings. You never attended trainings. You want to get somebody who's motivated. The daily success system tracker, we introduced it last session. Did any of you get the chance to apply at conversations and write anything on it? Okay. So start doing that, put it on an Excel sheet. And for example, notice how it says space of 10 conversations. So you're supposed to have 10 conversations a day with different people. It could be phone conversations. It could be like, let's say you're waiting in line in a grocery store and someone, opens a conversation with you. Take out your card, like what you did with me last time, and give it to him. I'm in real estate. If you ever have a real estate question, give me a call. That could be one of the 10 conversations. It doesn't have to be a phone call. It could be a door knock. It could be a cold call. It could be a sphere of influence. So out of those conversations, let's say 2 possibilities. I'm not interested. Okay, then that's that person you're not going to add him to the database. If he's interested, he might give you information. That's where you capture it. Then you say, for example, that's one of the 10 contacts added. Because a contact is someone who gives you permission, or he gives you his information or permission to follow up with him in the future. Basically, he's giving you his information. That will be considered a contact. Handwritten notes. Some people, value handwritten notes because it's kind of, you know why, or you don't?
Like sentimental, very tailored to them.
Yeah, very tailored to them. Exactly. Yeah. That's why even for us, when we get all these texts of advertisement, we know it's a mass text. So it's but when it's something personal from somebody, we feel it's value. And then there's the 10-5-1 social media engagement. And that's actually one of the easiest ways we can use, because we're always on social media, either Facebook or Instagram. So make comments to people, and they're going to notice you're commenting on them. You're building a relation, because what we're doing in any relation is cultivating that relationship so that we can get a leads and capture that lead afterwards. 5 texts and 1 post. Try to make a post daily. Good if it would be about real estate, or it will be about a topic that people are talking about. It doesn't have to be real estate, but it would just make a post that people get engaged with. Even if it's your vacation in Mexico, people are going to get engaged. I like making personal posts on Facebook because it gets people engaged. And so they always think in their mind, oh, so what is James? Oh, yeah, he's a real estate agent. Yeah. So that's because when they see me going on a lot of vacations, that's what they think. What does he do? Always the question comes to mind, why is that person taking vacations a lot? Oh, he's in real estate. That means he does good. Okay. That's how it... so it doesn't... Yeah, exactly. So not necessarily every post you do every day has to be about real estate, but try to, of course, at least once or twice a week about real estate so that they would remember you're in real estate. So you're reminding everybody who follows you in an indirect way that you're in real estate. Enrichments, something new you learn every day. Try to learn something, even if it's 1 sentence every day in real estate. Try to learn something new. Whatever it is, if you go to MLS, a new way to filter or research something is something you knew. You read the interest rates are gonna expect it to rise or go down. You learned something new. So always try to learn something new every day. It doesn't have to be 2 pages. It could be one sentence. That will be should be the daily success system. You put it on Excel and you start working on that. So try to follow that system. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you suggest making a separate social media for real estate or having using your personal?
I suggest having both. Both a business and a personal. Yeah. The business is mainly focused on your real estate posts, and you post on personal as well. So if you have a business, let's say you have a new listing, you would market the new listing on the business, and you can share your business page on the personal. Okay. And then you would invite all your friends on the personal to like your business page. Just like we always get invitations to like the new business. And the first step I recommend you guys do is post on social media your business card. Guys, I got the real estate license, and yeah, a lot of people do that. I always see it on Facebook, they have the business cards and they get a lot of likes, congratulations, and then they disappear. Even though they got a lot of traction, like maybe 150 likes, but in comments, congratulations, but they just, get busy with whatever life is.
I'll be completely honest, that's an exact same boat I'm in right now. So I have a separate account, like a Facebook business account and an Instagram business account for my real estate career. And that's the one thing I need to do is that first post. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but I overthink it. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? I got to make it like this big brand thing. So that's a great idea for me to do.
Yeah, start with the business card. Yeah, business card. Yeah, my bag. If you want to sell or buy, give me a call. I know it's on your business card, but you also put it in, type it in as well. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and widgets. Make a link to your website and a link to your Instagram account so that they can click on it and they can go. So do that as well. Yeah, that would be one of the things. Another thing about tracking numbers is this quote: if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. Peter Drucker, Australian-American management consultant, educator, and author. The reason we track our numbers, we always have numbers and see how many contacts we generated out of all the leads we've been calling. And then what we converted is to see what the problem is, okay? Because if we can't measure it, we'll not be able to improve it. And we want to always improve. Real estate now is going to become a very challenging career because of all the people who think it's easy who are getting their licenses, especially because of the NAR settlement now. It's going to be more challenging, but you're in good hands because you're following the Ignite. You're always seeking learning. You're learning based, so you don't have to worry about it. And Keller Williams is the #1 broker franchise in the world, not just in the United States. So you have the brand name behind you. Some others are in other brokerages, not to belittle the other brokerages, but still the brand name of Keller Williams is well known. And that is today's session of Embrace Your Job. So I would appreciate if you guys would give me a review again, even if you made a review last time, as I explained. Every class is a separate review, and it counts as a unique review for me. So if you end up writing in the 20 sessions, 20 reviews, I would appreciate it. Yeah. And just a reminder, my name is not yet on the drop down. It's hopefully within a few months will be, but just put my name, and we are California Coastal. And let me put in, type in my name inside for Jensel. Two. And that's my name in there so that you have it for spelling. But any questions about today's session other than what we discussed? Anything, even if it's off topic, or if something you remembered after from session 1 that you want to discuss? Any question, whatever. Yansel, feel free to ask as well if you have any questions.
On the manage your money part,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, when you get that commission and it hits your account, and we made the comment about also having to prepare for taxes as well. Just out of curiosity, how specifically do you put money aside when that tax time comes?
Well, this is a question for your accountant more.
Okay.
It depends on how much revenue you're going to generate and your expenses and stuff like that. Most likely, no agents, they start with Schedule C. And of course, when you make more than $35,000 a year, when you start going more than that, you need to make an S corporation. It's recommended tax-wise to be better off doing that. But if you're making less than that, then Schedule C is fine. But how much you would set aside, your accountant will be able to tell you because he knows everything about you. He will tell you this. It's not something I can tell you because everyone is yeah.
Do you have a good CPA that you're happy with that you use?
Well, he's from out of town,
Okay.
and besides, I have a CPA background, so all I do is I just give him everything, and he would do it, So, but I'm a CPA, but not in taxes. I used to be an auditor in Pricewaterhouse, as I mentioned. So I just audit companies, not taxes. So even taxes are my specialty. Yeah. Which is a good point. You brought up a good point. If you're ever asked any tax question from any of your clients, do not answer, even if you know the answer, because you might give him not inaccurate information or something that's 80% accurate, and then he will blame you. You told me. You can mention, yeah, of course, the interest that you're going to pay on the mortgage is tax deductible. That's a fact. That's okay. But don't give him tax advice about something that's, yeah. Any questions from Jansel on Zoom? Any further questions? Next session is going to be connect with your market
On Tuesday?
on the coming Tuesday. Yeah, it's yeah, connect with your market. Will be an interesting session, and then of course after that will be defining your value, which is going to be good, and then of course next week we'll be done with the first segment, which is becoming the real estate expert of choice. And then we're going to move on to the next segment, which is lead generation, which will be interesting, the core of our business. Any further questions? Okay. And remember, if you guys want the listing presentation or just email me and I'll reply back with those templates. Okay, it was a pleasure having you all today. Thanks for coming tonight, and we'll see you on Tuesday.